What is up YouTube? My name is Ranjit Mama Senior Patel और आज मैं बात करने वाला Cooler Master MM711 के बारे में. तो let's not waste any time. Let's start with the unboxing first. So I managed to get my hands on the MM711 Retro Limited Edition जो बहुत ही खास है because उसका cable stand out करता है and it has a green accent towards the bottom and on the buttons and the DPI button is also orange. But जब बॉक्स मैं अनबॉक्स कर रहा था I was being very careful to not damage the box because I wanted to record some extra shots with it. बॉक्स खोलते ही you can see the orange cable which stands out the most because आप जितने भी मॉडल है माउस के black हो या white हो they have that standard cable but I really like the orange finish and I was lucky enough to get my hands on this. But जैसे बॉक्स खोला I noticed the first thing was कि it came with an extra set of the mouse feet but it has a nice matte finish the mouse and feels pretty solid जो green accent की बात कर रहा था नीचे on the buttons as well. So all in all, pretty solid ambidextrous mouse. But at the same time, the cable also stands out a lot. It's a little thicker than the normal mice. But ये extra set of mouse feet है जो extra skates की बात कर रहा था. And it's great to see that. And ये एक छोटी सी user manual भी कह सकते हैं आप. And it links all the downloads, so you can find that in the box. But very neatly packed, no wastage. एंड जो काम की चीज़ है उसी से मतलब रखा हुआ है. लेट्स मूव ऑन डिज़ाइन नाउ. और डिज़ाइन की बात करें सबसे पहली चीज़ जो नोटिस होती है वो इसका हनीकॉम स्ट्रक्चर. एंड द हनीकॉम स्ट्रक्चर enables this mouse to be as light as it actually is. मैंने जब इसका वजन किया था माउस के it stood at 59 grams and I remember using a Glorious model which is around 70 grams और मैंने सोचा इससे हल्का माउस तो कैसे आएगा. But the moment I touched this mouse and मैंने use किया for the first time, I can never imagine myself going back to a heavier mouse because a light mouse is जितना ज़्यादा अच्छा है it is also a curse because you will never ever be able to use a normal mouse and thinking नहीं यार ये बहुत ज़्यादा भारी है बहुत ज़्यादा मेहनत लगती है हिलाने में माउस को. And the best part is that it's so light you barely even notice it. The honeycomb design also makes you question is this mouse even safe because डर लगता है कि अंदर धूल जाएगी. खास तौर पे इंडियन जो हमारा वेदर रहता है काफ़ी ज़्यादा धूल रहती है एटमॉस्फेयर में and it's pretty humid as well. So a lot of times people get a little scared of buying a mouse which is as open as this is कि नहीं यार अगर धूल चली जाएगी और is it even safe because of your sweat or water. तो rest assured this mouse is actually dust and splash resistant. The keyword is resistant. It's not waterproof. तो आप इसको पानी में डाल देंगे obviously ये खराब हो जाएगा. But it's resistant to sweat, dust. So if you're worried about that, rest assured it's completely safe. Now one of the things that really stands out about this mouse is the fact that ये एक ambidextrous mouse है, which means either if you're a lefty or a righty कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. It is not designed for specifically the right hand या left hand जो ergonomic mice होते हैं. And I moved on from an ergonomic mouse to this mouse which is ambidextrous and I actually did not struggle. I feel the shape is adequate. It's very well made. It's well thought out. जो palm grip players है उनके लिए शायद थोड़ी सी दिक्कत होगी which I'm going to cover in the next segment. But all in all, it's pretty nice. But there's one catch. जो buttons है mouse 4 and mouse 5K, they're only on the left side. So if you're a lefty, you can't really use it. You can't use the buttons with your thumb. आपको अपनी pinky use करनी पड़ेगी, which might be a problem for some. But all in all, it doesn't really matter to me because I'm a right-handed player and I like the design. अगर हम cable की बात करें तो Cooler Master calls this the Ultra Wave cable, which is pretty similar to the Phantom cable from Final Mouse or the Ascended cable from Glorious. And I have a Glorious Model D as well. But मैंने दोनों mouse cable को compare किया. And I found that the Cooler Master's Ultra Wave cable is actually a little thicker and more flexible. Usually people believe that जो मोटा cable होता है it's not as flexible, but I found it to be more flexible and a little more thicker than the Ascended cable from Glorious Model D. And the best thing about this, for me at least personally, is that I use a cheaper bungee. जो bungee होता है, I don't usually spend a lot of money on it, and it fits very snugly onto my bungee. But जो पुराना mouse था मेरा Model D, उसमें मैं थोड़ा struggle कर रहा था. But all in all, अगर cable quality की बात करें, it's very well made and it's pretty flexible. And I'm actually not scared of this breaking because usually जो इस type के cables होते हैं, थोड़ा डर लगता है. Because पहले जो braided cable आते थे बहुत मजबूत आते थे, but they were not as flexible. But this, takes care of the flexibility as well and is also pretty solid. बात करेंगे हम mouse के dimensions की, तो dimensions are 116.5 into 62.4 into 38.3 millimeters, and I believe it's slightly, just ever so slightly on the smaller side because I'm 6 feet tall, and for my body proportions, I have a pretty decent hand, pretty normal hand, and it's on the larger size obviously. So for anyone who is 6 feet or above and जो palm grip use करता है उनके लिए थोड़ा सा problem होगा. I use a mixture of palm and fingertip grip, तो मेरा बीच का एक mixture रहता है. But if you're a palm grip player, you might wanna maybe try it out if you can and see if your hand really fits it. But otherwise ये सारी की सारी grips को support करते हैं if you're below 6 feet and आपकी hand size normal है. But what I'll do is I'll post a side by side photo of the mouse and my hand so you guys get a better idea. अगर हम डिज़ाइन की बात करें तो obviously it has RGB which gives you additional 10 points in aiming accuracy and everyone knows RGB makes you better. Let's talk about the feel of the mouse. So honeycomb structure, obviously the first question that comes to my head is, the structural integrity of the mouse. And मैंने हर जगह से pressure देके कोशिश करी देखने की to try and test the structural integrity of the mouse. It's actually pretty solid because I remember Glorious Model D and Model O had this issue कि अगर आप side से उसको press करें तो mouse 4 या mouse 5 button दब जाएगा. But I press it from the side, I press it from the top, and it has almost no bend in the body, and it's pretty solid that way. Now talking about the mouse 1 and mouse 2 button, जहाँ जो भी mouse के design में there's a cut on the mouse 1 and mouse 2 buttons. Sometimes they wobble a lot, but I tested that out as well, and it actually doesn't wobble at all. There's very minimal. I think it's not even detectable if you consciously do it. खेलते time, तो obviously not going to notice it. It's very sturdy, and the build quality has improved so much. I still remember buying the Cooler Master Recon. I think, yeah, that is what it was called. And comparing this mouse to that mouse, Cooler Master has definitely come a very, very long way. तो मैं जो palm grip players के लिए बात कर रहा था कि जब when the back of the mouse touches the back of your hand, आप पूरे के पूरे mouse को engulf कर देते हैं, and the mouse actually goes a little under your fingertip. आपकी fingertip थोड़ी सी बाहर आ जाती है, and that might be a problem for some people don't like it. I personally don't like it either जब मेरा हाथ बाहर चले जाता है, but lucky for me कि I use a hybrid of palm grip and fingertip grip. So the mouse doesn't touch the back of my palm, but my hand does rest on the mouse itself. So for people who are 6 feet and above and use a proper palm grip, this mouse might not be for you. So you need to check out the size and your hand size as well. Let's talk about the buttons on board. Like any standard gaming mouse, it has 6 buttons on board. Mouse 1, mouse 2, mouse 3, which is the scroll wheel जो click होता है. There's mouse 4, mouse 5 and the DPI switch. And they all feel pretty solid. मैंने click test करके देखा है, so you guys can hear that very satisfying ASMR click. So hear it out for yourselves and let me know in the comments कि आपको आवाज़ कैसे लगी इसकी. Now, the one thing that really stood out for the buttons on the board is the fact that those side buttons, they have a very peculiar shape. वो triangle shape या pyramid structure जैसा shape है उनका. And I wondered why. And then I figured जब आप mouse उठाते हो, it actually helps you pick up the mouse. It might not be a big deal. It's not a big deal for me as well. It's a very nice touch. Paying attention to the details is something that I am really fond of. So I like that. And the second thing is जो उसके clicks है, they are very satisfying. Usually the side buttons are overlooked. They're not as sturdy. But in this case, they're pretty sturdy, they sound very well, and the click is also pretty satisfying. Now let's talk about the specs of the mouse. Obviously this mouse is feature laden, but talking about the sensor first, it comes with the Pixar 3389 optical sensor, which is capable of 16,000 dpi, which is insane because I don't think really anybody plays at 16,000 dpi. But one thing I noticed was the software actually goes up to 32,000 dpi. So I'm going to cover the software in a different video in itself because it has so many features that I can't really talk about them in this video. But talking about the acceleration, it's capable of tracking 50 Gs of acceleration and going up to 400 inches per second, which is just unreal. I mean, nobody really moves the mouse at 400 inches per second. So if you play on low sensitivity and you move your arm really, really fast, rest assured, this mouse is not going to struggle. Now talking about the DPI and the DPI levels, it supports 7 DPI levels: 400, 800, 1200, 1600, 3200, 6400 and 16000. This is all the default settings are, but obviously you can change them up a bit and you can use whatever you like. But 7 DPI levels is a lot. Honestly, I just keep my mouse at 2 DPI levels, 800 and 1600, just in case I need to increase it for some game that I'm playing. If I was trying out some game like War Thunder, for example. But apart from that, the DPI levels, like once again, 7 DPI levels for me personally it's an overkill. The most I would want in a mouse is 7. But if you can, then I guess the question over here is why not, right? But talking about the lift-off distance, it's actually pretty low. It's pretty damn low. It's less than 2 millimeters, and there are 2 options in the software, low or high. So I would assume it goes below. The highest it goes is like 2 millimeters, and the lowest it goes is what, 0.5 or 1 millimeter. I'm not sure about the numbers, but there are 2 settings, and I've not run into any issues with it. So I guess on that front, it's pretty decent. And It works well for me. But the polling rate, it supports obviously 4 polling rates: 125, 250, 500, and 1000 hertz. And I think pretty much everyone at this day, in this day and age, uses 1000 hertz. But I still remember back in 2015, some Counter-Strike professionals like Scream and a couple other players used to use it at 500 hertz. So obviously there is that option of customizing it, but I don't see the reason why you would want to use it at 500 or anything less than 1000 hertz. Now, when I mentioned that this mouse comes with a lot of features and it's feature laden, I wasn't kidding. This mouse actually comes in with a 32-bit ARM processor and 512 KB of memory on board, kilobytes of memory on board. And I still remember a decade back, exactly in 2011, when the first gaming mouse came out with the processor on board, everyone was blown away. But in this day and age, it's become a standard practice in high-end gaming mice. Now, the one thing I really liked about the mouse and the after sales service is the fact that it has a 2-year warranty, which means that within 2 years, if your mouse breaks, they'll just replace the mouse. There is RMA available, and it does come in with Omron switches, which has a click rating of 20 million clicks. And I still remember when I started buying gaming mice back in 2011, 2012, I ran into so many issues with double clicks or something or the other. I had to replace a mouse every year or every 2 years. And I remember one instance where it broke after, I think, 13 months of me buying it. So it literally broke after 1 month of the warranty running out. So 2-year warranty is a very nice touch, and that actually shows a lot of confidence in their own manufacturing process. That I mean, for 2 years it's going to be pretty solid, and if it breaks within 2 years, they'll just replace it. So that's pretty great, and all in all, a pretty solid mouse. I loved it. I hope you guys like the review as well. And if you guys get a chance to try the mouse out somewhere in a cafe or LAN, maybe at an experience zone, do test it out, because I believe this has to be one of the best gaming mice that I've actually used, especially because of the weight. The weight is the biggest selling point for me, and I hope it is for you too as well. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it from my side. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.